Real Life by Brandon Taylor is a campus coming-of-age novel and a 12-yoker. You know, like the mayonnaise and ice cream recipes that use a carton of eggs at a time. I call books that are saturated in heavy themes 12-yokers. I call them my full-fat food babies. The story takes place over the course of a single weekend. Wallace, whose father has died recently, is on his way to meet his friends, and it is a beautiful late summer evening. Wallace meets up with Miller, Cole and Ingve, who look like a trio of pale upright deer. They are postgraduate students at a Midwestern university. Wallace is the first black person admitted into the biochemistry class in more than 30 years. Weighing heavily on Wallace's mind is a failed nematode experiment. Someone has sabotaged his petri dishes, and now he feels done in, spent, and he feels that he has nothing to show for his hours, days, weeks, months of effort. Wallace doesn't really want to meet his friends, but he goes to meet them anyway because he wants to escape his failed experiment. At the picnic, Cole has come with his partner Vincent, a fourth friend, and they have an ugly charged fight because Vincent is feeling jealous and neglected. Miller stares impassively, but really, he is roiling with anger, desire, and longing for meaningful connection and acceptance. Ingve plays it cool. He's nice but dim. He somewhat proudly proclaims that his grandparents say that Swedes are the blacks of Scandinavia. He also happens to be in love with a guy named Lucas, who loves him back, but because Ingve lacks inner awareness, he has a girlfriend and Lucas has a boyfriend who Ingve deeply resents. And somewhere in between the tacos and the changed particles zigzagging about, Wallace is remembering how Miller had hurt him with a racist comment, and how he finds Miller attractive, actually. And there are more issues stemming from his childhood. Wallace grew up Alabama poor, was sexually abused, shamed by his mother, and abandoned by his father. I would call that redolent with themes, wouldn't you? It's fully a 12-yoker, but it does have a pithy theme in amongst all the Hydra's heads. Wallace has reached the end of his time as a graduate student. He's come a long way. He's learned many things, but he's outgrown his secure cocoon, and his tightness feels like unhappiness and futility. Now, I'm not sure what it takes for a bird to take its first flight or start its migratory journey. I imagine it requires a serious amount of energy. In order to find the will to move on from his campus life, Wallace needs a big shove of energy, which is, I guess, why we end up with this 12-yoke weekend. Given that the weekend is a bit of a hadron collider, you'd be forgiven for not noticing the subtle, insistent push to get a somewhat frozen and reluctant Wallace out of his nest. He sits in his lab and he observes 4 strains of nematodes. They're temperamental, dicey little things that may result in males being too fragile or uninterested in mating at all. It is immediately followed by his meeting his 4 friends, who are temperamental, dicey little things, also fragile, and may not be interested in mating at all. There's something small and dead-ended about them. It really does feel like watching nematodes jostling in a petri dish as they get all hot and bothered about petty jealousies, their incestuously tight experiences in the lab. And who wants a snack, and what kind of a snack? But you said you didn't want a snack, and I got some spicy snack juice in my eye, and now I'm going to have a tantrum. Well, you get what I mean. The book progresses, and lots of particles have collided with lots of vigor. Wallace enters the bioscience building, and he notices that a bird is dying after having flown into a window. Birds are happily flapping about everywhere in this book, so it is significant that the one associated with the science building is dying. He observes the tiled picture of the Texas carbon with 5 bonds on the foyer wall. It's actually a mistake, because a carbon can only make 4 bonds. Wallace is introduced as a 5th friend about to enter his 5th year. So you see what I mean? It's a subtle but insistent pattern indicating that Wallace doesn't fit in. It is time for Wallace to evolve, but he doesn't. And the reason that his efforts to transform are stymied are insightful and a real nostril-level look at the wilting, limiting effect of discrimination. Wallace goes to a disastrous dinner. There's all sorts of dangerous static in the air, but check out Roman, the dinner guest from hell. This absolute French douche has this to say when Wallace tentatively suggests that he may be thinking about leaving the university. "Why would you do that? What are the prospects for black people? They spent so much money on your training. It seems ungrateful to leave. They brought you in knowing your deficiencies." Roman is a caps lock douche, but he says out loud what lots of people tacitly believe. Underprivileged minorities should gratefully accept what they are given. Choose security over happiness and do not ask for more. For Wallace, as a young black gay, expansion, that is to say the growth that we as humans are impelled to undertake, is so much harder. See, it's easy to stomp about yelling that Black Lives Matter. It's obviously wrong when a man dies as a result of police brutality. But what Brandon Taylor shows us is the insidious, deeply belittling judgment that goes on in an everyday, business-as-usual way. This quote really made a pow in my brain. The most unfair part, Wallace thinks, is that when you tell white people that something is racist, they hold it up to the light and try to discern if you are telling the truth, as if they can tell by the grain if something is racist or not. And they always trust their own judgment. It's unfair because white people have a vested interest in underestimating racism, its amount, its intensity, its shape, its effects. They are the fox in the henhouse. Just highlight that in your mind because it's so true. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be a nematode roiling unconsciously in a petri dish. I want to be a conscious observer above the petri dish. The book Real Life reminds me that I want to be more than my petty, destructive judgments. I absolutely don't want to be the fox in the henhouse. I want Wallace to grow. It's a great book. It's moved a lot of people in a good way. But I will just add one quick word on style. Chip Kidd is an awesome book illustrator. He created Jurassic Park's dinosaur logo. He said that as an illustrator, he would never do something like A plus the word apple equals apple. He said it's too obvious and it insults the audience. When I read the gay love scenes in real life and I read, "And there was the final strangled gasp, and Wallace felt like a beaten egg, frothy and messy. There was a throbbing heat inside him." All I can say is that B is for banana. Pretty much every time you use the word throbbing in a sentence about sex, B will equal the banana. Thank you so much for watching. Click subscribe and boop the like button. Till next time, happy reading.